Good morning, children. Welcome to today's class. And hope you all are fine and you are maintaining the guideline to fight against this pandemic. Today we are going to revise chapter 3, element, compound and mixtures. So let's do that. And today in this study material portion, you will be getting the curriculum of class 8. So we will be following the curriculum. You just go through that. And, whatever things are there, we will not go beyond that. Okay, this curriculum you will be getting in council's website also. So let's start. So today we are going to discuss matter and its classification. As you did this chapter in your previous classes, so we will be going little bit faster. Okay, hope all of you will understand this properly. So matter and its classification we will be doing, then elements and its classification. Next, properties of different types of elements will be discussed. Compounds and a brief discussion on it will be there. Then names and formula of some common compounds, mixture and its characteristics and types, differences between compounds and a mixture. So these things we will be going to discuss today. Matter and its classification. You know what is matter? Anything which occupies some space, which is having some mass, and which can be perceived by our senses, that can be called as matter. Anything like a pen or a paper, or your books or water, this gases in the air, all these things we can call as matter. We know that. Yes, you read this earlier. So matter can be classified into two groups. First is pure substances, another is impure substances. Pure substances again can be classified into elements and compounds. Elements again can be classified into metals, non-metals, metalloid and inert gases. See here, examples of metals, non-metals, metalloids and inert gases are given. You know the examples already. So example of metals will be sodium, magnesium, iron, any so many metals are there. You know that. Silver may be there, copper may be there. Okay, so these are the metals. Next, non-metals, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, these gases we can say as non-metal. We can give an example. Sulfur is there, phosphorus is there. These are also can be given as example of non-metals. Metalloids, the substances, the elements which can show both the properties of metals and non-metals. These are metalloids. Okay, so boron, silicon, arsenic, antimony, these are the examples of metalloids. Inert gases, helium, neon, and more four are there: argon, helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon and radon. Okay. Next, compounds can be classified into inorganic and organic. These two types. Inorganic substances, inorganic compounds are those substances which we will be getting generally in atmosphere, in earth crust we will be getting. Okay, so anything which is non-organic, that will be called inorganic. Okay, from we can say from minerals we will be getting these things. Okay, so sodium chloride, magnesium oxide, water, these are the examples of inorganic substances. Whereas organic substances are generally we will be getting this from living things. Okay, sugar, it may be plant or animal. Okay, so sugar, alcohol, vinegar, these are some examples of compounds, inorganic compounds. Next, impure substances can be classified into homogeneous and heterogeneous substances. Homogeneous are tap water, air, and heterogeneous will be sand and water, oil and water. These mixtures are called heterogeneous mixture. Okay. So about this again we will be discussing afterwards. Let's move on then. Elements and its classification. Metals, these are the characteristics of metal we will be saying. So elements have metallic luster, means the metallic shine they are having. Mostly these are hard solids. We know metals are hard solid. Metals are malleable and ductile. That means malleable means it can be beaten into thin sheets, and ductile means metals can be drawn into wires. Okay, so good conductors of heat and electricity. Generally metals are good conductors of heat and electricity, and they are sonorous, means we will be, if we strike them, if we strike on a metal surface, we will be getting a particular sound. Okay, so that means these are sonorous. Examples of metals, already we have discussed iron, gold, silver, etc. Now see the exceptions. Sodium and potassium are soft metal. We read here that mostly metals are solid, hard solid, but sodium and potassium, these are soft metals. That means this is an exception, we can say. Mercury, it is a liquid metal. Generally metals are hard, but mercury is a liquid metal. Mercury we use in, we can see mercury in thermometer. Yes. Next, zinc is brittle and brittle in nature. Zinc metal, generally metal is hard, but zinc is brittle. Okay, if we strike it, if we beat it, if we hammer it, it will break. So zinc is a brittle metal. Next, tungsten is a poor conductor of electricity. We know generally metals are good conductor of heat and electricity, but tungsten is a metal, but it's a poor conductor of electricity. So these are the exceptions. These exceptions are very much important. Okay. Next, non-metals. These elements have no luster, just opposite to the metals. Metals have metallic luster, but non-metals are dull. They don't have any such luster, any such metallic luster. They can be soft, solids, liquids, or gases. Metals, non-metals, they may be soft, may be liquid, may be gases. They are neither malleable nor ductile. We cannot make thin sheet from non-metals, neither we can drawn it to a wire. Okay, so they are bad conductor of heat and electricity. This is another we can say characteristic of non-metals. Generally non-metals are bad conductor of heat and electricity. From this you can get the difference between metals and non-metals as well. Okay, see these 5 points are there. So metals, non-metals are generally good, these are not good conductor of electricity, these are bad conductor of electricity and heat. Okay, and these are not sonorous. If we hammer a non-metal or if we strike a non-metal, we will not get any sharp sound, we can say. Okay, we will be getting a blunt sound. So it's not sonorous. Examples of non-metals: hydrogen, nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus, bromine. These are the examples of non-metals. Okay, now come to the exceptions. Here also exceptions are very much important. Okay, so iodine and graphite, these are lustrous. We read here that non-metals are generally they don't have any luster, but iodine and graphite, these are shining, these are having luster like metals. Next, carbon fiber is ductile. We read that non-metals, from non-metals we cannot make it thin wire from it. You cannot get the thin wire, but carbon fiber is such a non-metal. Carbon is such a non-metal from which we can make thin wire. That means it is ductile. Next, graphite is a good conductor of electricity. Many times this have come in exam. Okay, so this is important. Graphite is a good conductor of electricity, and for this we can make graphite electrode. Okay, what is that? That you will be getting in the higher classes. So electrode is a we can say this we can use for electrolysis process. Okay, to pass electricity we need a conductor. So here graphite, as it is a good conductor of electricity, so this can be used as this graphite can be used as the thing which we will be using as in electrolysis process. It can be used as electrode. Next, diamond is the hardest naturally occurring substance. Why this is an exception? Generally we know that non-metals are soft, but diamond is the non-metal. It's a form of carbon which is a non-metal. Carbon is a non-metal and diamond is the form of carbon. It's a allotrope of carbon, we will say. Okay, so diamond is the hardest naturally occurring substance, though it is a non-metal. Metalloids, these elements have properties of both metals and non-metals. We know this. Examples are here: boron, silicon, germanium, arsenic, antimony. Next, noble gases. Noble gases are chemically not reactive. That's why these are called noble or inert. They are all gases and they are found in traces in air. Okay, so in air we will be getting these gases in a very small amount of very small percentage of these gases are present in air. Examples, we know that: helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon and radon. Okay, here I want to tell you one thing. Whenever you will be reading or doing your lessons and all, you have to read line by line. Okay, in between the line you have to read, because from anywhere the question may come. So whatever study materials are given, you will not now you will be not getting your chemistry books. Okay, because it's not delivered by the publisher yet. So you have to whatever study materials are providing to you all, that will be that is from your book only. Okay, generally I am giving the study materials from your book, from the text, so that you have to read line by line. Okay, so this is very much important. And this I know I told this several times in classes. Whenever I have taken your classes, I told that, but again I want to repeat this. You just read line by line. This is very much important. And another thing, whenever you will be doing your studies and all, whenever you will be reading, you have just keep a rough copy with you and note down the important things, like exceptions. Just now we read no exceptions, so these things several times you have to write, otherwise you cannot memorize these things. I'm not telling you to memorize blindly. Okay, that is very important. That don't do ever. Okay, first you try to first you try to understand the thing, understand the matter, and then few things we have to memorize. I know that we all do that, but without understanding this matter, without understanding the basic thing, don't try to memorize, because it after some time only you will forget that. Okay, so don't do that ever. So Compounds are made up of different types of atoms combined chemically to form molecule. Okay, so this we know. It's compounds are made up of different types of atoms. uh, One or more elements will combine together to form a compound. The properties of a compound are entirely different from those of its constituent elements. This we know. Whenever we will be getting a compound from a particular from two or more elements or two or more substances, the substances in a compound, the constituent elements or constituent substances, they will lose their individual properties. Like for this example, sulfur and iron, the reaction between sulfur and iron. Okay, this is sulfur, this yellowish particles, these are sulfur dust, this is a non-metal, and iron, here we have taken iron dust, this is grayish metal. Okay, now if we add this two, if we just mix this two and nothing else, then we can see the both the particles of sulfur and iron. See, the yellow particles are also there and the grayish particles are also there. So here we have not made them react. Okay, just we have mixed this two. Now we know that sulfur is having a property of getting dissolved in carbon disulfide. If we add carbon disulfide as solvent, solvent means anything which will dissolve something. Okay, so solvent which will make soluble, for others it will make other soluble. Okay, so this here for sulfur we will be taking the solvent as carbon disulfide. Carbon disulfide can dissolve sulfur, or this is the property of sulfur we will be saying. Okay, and we know iron as it is a magnetic substance, so iron will get attracted by magnet. So if we bring a magnet to this iron particles, it will get attracted by the magnet. So these are the property of sulfur and iron. Now after mixing these two, see, after this, in this test tube, after mixing these two, we will be heating this mixture. Now after heating, we can get the, we will be getting the this black substance, black mass. Okay, so here we cannot see the color of sulfur or color of iron separately in this manner. So here we are getting a totally different substance, and if we add carbon disulfide in it, it will not get dissolved in that. That means sulfur has lost its property. Again, if we bring a magnet, then this black mass or this residue, this will not get attracted by the magnet. That means iron also have lost its individual property here in this ferrous sulfide. That means from this we can prove that after forming a compound, the constituent elements lose their, they lost their properties, they lost their individual properties. Okay, so this is the main, or this is a very important characteristic of compound we will be saying. As we are getting a compound, we will be getting a totally different substance here. The same thing we can say for the for this reaction of between sodium, chlorine, and here we will be getting sodium chloride. This is common salt or table salt, we will be saying. Okay, now see, sodium, this is a soft metal and this is very much reactive and poisonous, whereas chlorine, it's a greenish yellow gas. This is also poisonous and having a choking sound, having a choking smell, we will be saying. Okay, so when we will make these two react, and we will be getting this sodium chloride. When sodium and chlorine will react together, we will be getting sodium chloride. But this sodium chloride we are using in our food to increase the taste. Yes, so this is edible. We can have this in our food. That means it's non-poisonous, but chlorine and sodium both were poisonous. That means here the property of the constituent elements in sodium chloride, that is totally different. Property of the constituent elements, that they have lost their properties, individual properties, we can say, when we will be getting this sodium chloride. So for every element, for every compound, this is this characteristic is it's true. Okay, for we can take any example of any compound, we will be getting the same. Okay, where the constituent elements have lost their individual property after forming the compound. Next, names and formula of some common compounds we will be doing. So maximum of this, you know, water, it's very easy, H2O. So here from this we can, a question may come as name the elements present in water. So what will be the answer? Hydrogen and oxygen. So if name, another thing is there, if name is asked in the question, then you have to write down the name only, you can't write the formula. Okay, in board exam also, during the correction of papers, we generally follow this rule. So if whatever is written in the question paper, you have to just follow that. Okay, so word to word you have to follow. So if formula is asked, then formula. If name is asked, then name. So after writing the name, in bracket you can write down the formula. It's okay, but for that you will be not getting any extra marks and all. But if you are not writing the formula, if you are not writing the name which is asked, then for writing the formula you will be not getting any mark. Okay, so carbon dioxide, formula of carbon dioxide is CO2. Sodium chloride, common salt, this is NaCl, sodium chloride. Glucose, C6H12O6. So the elements present in glucose is carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Sodium bicarbonate, it's baking soda, Na8CO3. Sodium carbonate, this is Na2CO3. Okay, bicarbonate is HCO3, sodium carbonate is Na2CO3. Calcium carbonate, this is the chemical name of marble and chalk. So if write down the chemical, write down the formula of chalk is there in the question, then the same answer will be there. So it may be chalk, it may be marble, sorry, it may be chalk, it may be marble, or it may be calcium carbonate, anything may come. So the formula will be same, calcium carbonate. Silicon dioxide, this is the formula of, this is the chemical name of sand, we will say chemical name. So this is silicon dioxide, SiO2. Acetic acid, vinegar, CH3, COOH. Copper sulfate, CuSO4, this is copper, CuSO4 is sulfate. Magnesium oxide, MgO. Potassium hydroxide, KOH. Calcium hydroxide, CaOH whole 2. Calcium hydroxide, CaOH whole 2. Hydrochloric acid, HCl. Sulfuric acid, H2SO4. Nitric acid, HNO3. Silver nitrate, AgNO3, Ag is silver. Barium chloride, BaCl2. Calcium oxide, CaO. Ammonia is NH3. So these formulas you have to practice a lot, otherwise you can't memorize this. Okay, and at the same time you have to memorize the symbols of first 30 elements or first 20 elements and the mostly used elements also. Okay, this you did in class 6. Okay, in class 6 you have done, in class 7 you have done. Again here we will be doing that. Okay, this is very much important, otherwise you cannot write down the formulas. Okay, So let's move on. Mixture. Definition of mixture can be given as: mixture can be defined as kind of matter which is formed by mixing two or more pure substances. It may be element, may be compound, or may be both, in any proportion such that they do not undergo any chemical change and retain their individual properties. That means when we will be getting the mixture, a mixture can be defined as a kind of matter which is formed by mixing two or more pure substances in any proportion. Okay, suppose if we can explain it taking an example of solution of water and sugar. Okay, if we make a mixture or solution of sugar in water, we can add one spoonful of sugar, that is of our choice. We can add one spoonful of sugar in water, in one glass of water. We can increase the amount of sugar as well. Okay, that means that is of our choice. We can change the proportion of the components of the elements or compounds. Okay, that means in a mixture the proportion is not fixed, but in compound we will be getting that in a fixed proportion. So this is the difference between mixture and compound, we will be saying. So therefore mixtures are impure substances. Why? Because these are the mixture, or these are the here we will be getting two or more substances. Characteristic of mixture: a mixture consists of two or more pure substances that exist together without any chemical combination between them. Yes, they will be just the components or the constituents of a mixture. We are just adding them. Okay, there are no such chemical combination between them. No chemical bond is there in between them. Just we are mixing these two. A mixture may be homogeneous or heterogeneous. The components of mixtures vary in their proportions. This already we have discussed. Mixtures do not have fixed melting and boiling point. They depend on the proportions of the components present in them. As we can change the proportion of the component, so melting and boiling points of mixtures, these are not fixed. They can vary. If we mix suppose more salt in water, then the boiling point of the water will increase, boiling point of the mixture will increase, and that will be, if gradually we are adding more salt, we are increasing the amount of salt in that manner, then gradually the boiling point will increase. Next, the component of mixtures can be separated by simple physical method. As there are no such chemical combination between the component of mixture, so easily they can be separated using simple physical methods. For mixtures, there are usually no energy change takes place during the formation of mixture. Okay, no heat change takes place, no energy change takes place. Mixtures cannot be represented by any chemical formula, as there are two or more substances are mixed together, so we cannot represent any mixture by any chemical formula. So here the last point, we can let us take an example. Suppose the same only sugar and water. Okay, or salt and water mixture. So in salt, if we add common salt in it, then sodium chloride is the formula for common salt and water is H2O. So as both are there, so which one we can represent? Which one formula we will be using for this? Okay, so there are no such chemical formula for the mixture. Next, types of mixture. These are two types: homogeneous and heterogeneous. Homogeneous, here the components are uniformly distributed throughout its volume and cannot be seen separately. So tap water, air, sugar solutions, these are the homogeneous mixture. Okay, here we cannot see the particles, component particles separately, whereas in heterogeneous substances, just opposite to the homogeneous, the components are not uniformly distributed throughout its volume and can be easily seen separately. Okay, so examples are mud and water, sand and stone, oil and water, etc. So here we can, the particles or the components can be easily seen separately. Next, type of mixture. See, from this you can easily understand the difference between homogeneous and heterogeneous mixture. In homogeneous, in both the cases, in homogeneous and heterogeneous, uh, purple color balls and greenish balls, these two type of balls are there, purple balls and green balls. Here all the balls, both the colors are spread uniformly, these are arranged uniformly. Okay, so if we take this small portion, these four balls, then also the component or the composition is whatever is the composition for this, the same composition we will be getting for this part also. For any part of the mixture, we will be getting the same concentration and same it's uniformly distributed, we will be saying. Okay, so the number of the particles and the color of each particle, these are same at any point of the mixture, or at any in whole volume of the mixture we will be seeing. Whereas in heterogeneous mixture, see in this upper portion the purple balls are more, whereas in this lower part the greenish balls are more. That means the concentration of the purple balls or purple atoms, these are more here in this upper part of this mixture, whereas the concentration of this greenish balls, these are more in lower part of the mixture. So this is the difference between heterogeneous and homogeneous mixture, where in heterogeneous the particles are distributed uniformly throughout its volume. These are not distributed uniformly throughout its volume, whereas for homogeneous mixture these are distributed uniformly throughout the volume of the substance. Next, here we will be getting some examples of homogeneous and heterogeneous substance. Air, salt, sugar, brass. Brass is a homogeneous mixture of two solids, solid homogeneous mixture. It's an alloy. Solutions, these are the examples of homogeneous mixture, whereas for heterogeneous mixture we can give the example as soil, sand and water mixture, and these are. Okay, next, see different types of mixture on the basis of their physical state. This is also very important. Examples. Okay, type of mixtures and their examples for both homogeneous and heterogeneous. Suppose the question will be like that, give an example of solid homogeneous mixture. So any example from this you can give. Alloys of metal, these are solid homogeneous mixture. So brass, bronze, stainless steel, all these are alloy. So this will be the example of solid homogeneous mixture. For heterogeneous mixture, this will be sugar and salt, sand and stone, or rice and pearl, sodium chloride and calcium chloride, or sodium chloride and calcium carbonate, common salt and chalk. Okay, so so many are there. So anything you can give an example for this. Okay, any suitable example can be given. Solid liquid homogeneous mixture is sugar and water. One part is solid, another is liquid, and when they will mix together we will be getting a homogeneous mixture. Okay, the same we will be getting for salt and water. Sulfur and carbon disulfide, as sulfur get dissolved in the carbon disulfide, so we will be getting a homogeneous mixture. Iodine, alcohol, this is also homogeneous mixture. Iodine can get dissolved in alcohol, So this is also solid liquid homogeneous mixture. Heterogeneous mixture, sand and water, mud and water, sugar and oil, these are. Okay, next, liquid liquid homogeneous mixture, water and alcohol, acetone and water, these are liquid liquid homogeneous mixture. Here we will be, or this example, liquid liquid homogeneous mixture, for this we can call it as the mixture of water and alcohol as miscible liquid. Okay, as we will not get any different layers here. Okay, both will get mixed together and we will be getting a just a uniform mixture here. Whereas oil and water is the heterogeneous liquid liquid mixture, where we will be getting two separate layers for oil and water, and that's why this mixture is called, these are called immiscible liquids, which cannot miscible. Liquid gas homogeneous mixture, tap water, ammonia and water, carbon dioxide and water. As ammonia or carbon dioxide, these are soluble in water, so we will be getting a homogeneous mixture here. Whereas heterogeneous mixture, heterogeneous liquid gas mixture will be soap lather. Okay, here in water we will be getting the air bubble trapped, okay, in soap lather. So this will be a liquid gas heterogeneous mixture. Whereas gas homogeneous mixture, this is air or any the mixture of any two gases. As all gases are miscible, they will be forming a homogeneous mixture. So all gases, for gas mixture, that can be homogeneous only. Next, the differences between compound and mixture. The first one is compound is a pure substance, whereas mixture is an impure substance. Compounds are always homogeneous, whereas mixtures may be homogeneous or heterogeneous. A compound has a fixed composition, that is, it is formed when two or more pure substances chemically combine in a definite ratio by mass, whereas a mixture has no fixed composition, that is, it is formed by mixing two or more substances in any ratio without any chemical reaction. For compound, formation of a compound involves a change in energy, whereas formation of mixture doesn't involve any change in energy. Compounds have a specific set of properties, whereas mixture do not have any specific set of properties. Okay, components of compounds can be separated by complex chemical processes, whereas the component of mixture can be separated by simple physical methods of separation. So these are the differences between compound and mixture. So this is all for today. Now we will be doing the worksheet, but here you do one thing, you just I hope you are having pen and paper with you. If you don't have, you stop the video and go and bring that. Okay, so you just here we will be doing the worksheet which was given in our last class. Okay, hope you have done it your own, because the questions are very easy. But again, let us do that. Just check it whether you have done it correctly or not. Pure substances can be classified as element and compound. Next, dash possesses property of both metals and non-metals. It will be what? Metalloids. And dash is a type of mixture consisting of two or more immiscible liquids. A dash is a type of mixture. It will be two or more immiscible liquids. For question number 3, this may be oil and water. Okay, this you can write as oil and water is a type of mixture consisting of two or more immiscible liquids. Okay, or this. Okay, this will be, this can be written. Okay, next 4, dash is used to separate a mixture of iron fillings and sulfur. Dash is used to separate a mixture of, this will be a magnet. Okay, magnet is used to separate a mixture of iron filling and sulfur. Next, we can separate a mixture of sand and water by, here we can use sedimentation process, that can be used. Okay, or filtration also we can use, but sedimentation is also can be used. So if you write any one of these two, it's correct. So sedimentation or filtration. The technique of dash is used for the concentration of, this one, question number 6, this is not there, this is not in your syllabus. Okay, so this no need to do. This is fourth flotation and all, this no need to do this. Okay, so question number 6. Next, match the column. Actually we will be following the curriculum only, so these things you will be getting in the higher classes, so no need to do this. Next, match the column. Metals, it's a conduct heat and electricity. Alcohol mixed with water, this is liquid mixture. Okay, alcohol mixed with water. Non-metals, non-sonorous and brittle. Air, this is mixture of gases. Oil and water, this is emulsion. Oil and water is emulsion. This, for this one, no, you can write emulsion also. As it is not there, that's why I have not mentioned. It's not there in your syllabus in that manner, so I have not mentioned. So emulsion is an emulsion is a type of mixture consisting of 2 or more immiscible liquids. Okay, next, oil and water, this is emulsion. Fractional distillation, this is separation of a mixture of miscible liquids. Yes, separation of a mixture of miscible liquids like oil and alcohol. Question number C. Write the techniques of separation that can be used to separate the following mixture. Small stones from sand at a construction site. So separation technique will be sieving. Okay, small stones from sand, it will be sieving. Small stones mixed with rice, this is also sieving. Wait just a second. Small stones from sand at a construction site, by changing the size of the sieve we can do that. Okay, so sieving only you write better. Small stones, small stones mixed with rice, this will be hand picking. Okay, not sieving. So first one is sieving, next one, this is hand picking. Sand and water, this may be filtration or maybe sedimentation. Bits of paper and pulses, this will be winnowing. Okay, as paper is light in weight, so they will be blown away, and the process name of the process will be winnowing. Sodium chloride and calcium carbonate, this can be separated by sodium chloride and calcium carbonate can be separated as calcium carbonate is immiscible, calcium carbonate is insoluble in water, so by solvent extraction we will write. Okay, by solvent extraction technique. Iron filling and sulfur, magnetic separation, we know. Sawdust and water, this is filtration. Okay, next, identify the error in the given statement and circle the incorrect word and write the correct word in the blank. So a compound can be broken down into its constituent elements by physical method. So physical, this is wrong, so you circle it, and this will be chemical. So here you have to write down the chemical. Okay, write down the word chemical, which is the correct word. A salt solution is a heterogeneous solution. So this heterogeneous, this part you have to circle because this is wrong, and instead of heterogeneous this will be homogeneous. Okay, next, a mixture of common salt and potassium nitrate can be separated by solvent extraction. Mixture of common salt and potassium nitrate can be separated as fractional crystallization. It's because both are soluble in water, soluble in a particular solvent, so it's not solvent extraction, it will be fractional crystallization. So fractional crystallization will be the term here, and you have to circle this solvent extraction. We can separate butter from milk by filtration. This is wrong. We can't separate it by filtration. We have to use the process as centrifugation. Okay, for this we have to use the centrifugation technique. Okay, understood. Next, write two uses of the following separation technique. Two uses means any two mixtures which we can separate using this. Okay, or that can be given as uses. So sieving, two uses. I know you can write your own. To separate rice and pearls. Sorry, for sieving, to separate husk and rice flour. To separate the same only, you can write husk and you can say as or to the sieving process we can use in construction site also to just separate the small stones, very small stones, from sand. Okay, next, magnetic separation, to separate sulfur and iron, or we can iron filling and sulfur we can say, or suppose sand and iron also we can say, or any other magnetic substance like nickel and sulfur we can say. So this we will be using. Filtration, any two uses like sawdust and water, and chalk and water we can say. Evaporation, salt and water, sugar and water both. Centrifugation, to separate cream from milk. Okay, uses cream from milk, or this centrifugation technique to separate cream from milk, this is one, and to separate the components of blood we can say. Okay, that means the particles, blood particles or corpuscles, and the serum we can say. Fractional distillation, this we will be using to separate oil and fractional distillation means to miscible liquids, that means water and alcohol, and water and acetone. These are miscible liquids, so fractional distillation we can use to separate this, or to separate the components of crude petroleum also we can write. Okay, so this was the worksheet given. Okay, so let's so students, this is all for today. Just as we are doing regularly, as we are doing the classes regularly, just keep on doing that. And as I said in our previous class, that no need to worry about the portion and all. So whatever things we are doing, we are I have taught in my classes and all. So you just follow that, that will be enough. Okay, so just keep yourself updated. You just regularly do the worksheets, regularly do your lessons. Okay, uh, do the just read the study material properly, line by line. Hopefully, let's see when we can get the chemistry books. So you may have you may be facing some problem for that, I know that, but what to do? So we can just pray for the best. We can just let's see when we can start our regular classes. So just let's pray for that. So till then we have to do in this manner, and it's a new experience, of course, for all of us. So just try to enjoy it, and just do whatever precautions we need to take. You know that uh, you have to wash your hands properly regularly, and don't touch your face, nose and eyes in this manner. Don't touch it actually. Okay, so these are the entry points through which the virus gets inside our body and all. So do that. Don't do that. Okay, and just you are smart enough. So just for today, it's all. Uh, as you are doing your lessons, as you are studying properly, you just keep on doing that, and just go through the worksheet, go through the study material and curriculum. Okay, so see you soon, see you in our next class. Till then, goodbye. Okay, have a nice day. Thank you.